stars are born, they have a lifetime, they grow old, and then they burn out and they die. And when they die, they change. They explode, and their matter is thrown out into the universe. And then what's left becomes a black hole.
When do you kind of start your journey on this path, and how did it came about?
My soul left my body. I was on the ceiling looking down at myself, and I was amazed. I was lying, my body was lifeless.
So we have my personal friend, Sherilyn Cassidy, today. How are you doing?
I'm well, thanks, Shelbe.
Yes. I know her for what, I think 4 or 5 years, right?
4 years, yeah.
Yes, and I was surprised, and I feel very ironic that throughout the 4 or 5 years meeting you and spend time with you, and you never share this very interesting part of your experience with me until recently. And now it made me very believe that everything happens for you, especially when it comes to universe and spirituality, because I'm new to explore into this subject, this realm. And while we're having dinner, out of blue, you said something related to it, and said the universe has message for me. So today I invite her to come to our show to have that message for everybody.
Well, I can't say I have the message for everybody. It's the universe reaches out to us when it reaches out to us.
Yes, and it's very, we both have our loved ones recently passed, and I do have that feeling. I mean, should I say feeling or some sort of intuition that it's because of somehow that connected and connect us to a different level in a way?
I think that's part of it. I think we were destined to meet anyway, because from our earliest days, I heard you say things, but I never responded until you had to ask the question.
Ask the right question.
You had to ask, exactly, because if you don't ask the right question, telling you the answer or even pointing you in the direction of the right answer would have been meaningless.
Yeah, I was doing another episode with one of my friends on a lot of those universe, spiritual, cosmos, and then I said, well, when it comes to spiritual, if you're not there, then you won't know it, or you're not going to receive what you should know, or the time is not there yet. So
you have to be prepared for what the universe wants to tell you, because it's not telling everybody the same thing. We all are learning. We're all on a different path,
right?
So we're all on different places on that path.
Right.
Fortunately for me, or unfortunately, I just happen to be older, so I've walked down that path a little bit longer.
Wiser.
Well, I won't say wise, but
yes.
But I think if you pay attention to what the universe is trying to tell you, and you actually participate with the universe in the spiritual aspect, there's a lot to be learned.
Okay.
You can just ignore it if you want, as many people do. Many people just turn, because they don't understand what it is that the universe is trying to tell them, and they don't seek out somebody who can help them understand what the universe is maybe trying to tell them.
Exactly. So my personal I'm new to this whole thing, but my experience just what you just described, because when I was trying to share something to him or on the show, and somehow I just get interrupt you and I talk about this before, our own time too. Like some people like to interrupt and they don't. I don't know why you think like that. Like people are trying to interrupt when things are trying to come into their life or try to give them a message.
Well, I think most people come from a place that they think they already know it.
Mm.
That's quite typical of people. I mean, I had to learn how to shut my mouth so I could hear.
Yeah.
And then I had to learn how to shut my ears so I could really hear.
Yes.
So it's a process, but a lot of people want to tell you already what they know without hearing what you have to tell them.
Exactly. Or I sense there are some fear within them. They probably thinking this thing is, some people can take as a nonsense or BS or delusional, in a way, right?
Well, at the risk of sounding, whatever, some people just won't shut up long enough to hear.
Yes.
And I think that happens a lot in our society because everybody knows everything. As long as you got a smartphone, somehow you think you're smart, whether you got the IQ of Forrest Gump or not. But you have to learn how to listen. It's like, it's when you're walking down a crowded street, most people will hear the sound of coins hitting the pavement if somebody drops them.
Yeah.
But they won't hear the cricket.
Yes.
See, because it's what they're attuned to.
Yes.
So you learn to turn your attention someplace else.
Uh-huh.
And when you have your attention someplace else, then something's going to fall away.
Yeah.
And in spiritual matters, the idea of spirituality, anyway, is to find the true self. It's not about going to church and saying hallelujah and praise Jesus. And that's religion. Religion and spirituality are two different things. The hope I think most people have is that when they go into an organized religion, they're going to find spirituality, but I don't think it's there.
It's well, I mentioned it with you too. I know it's a man-made, religion, and it's every religion right now is about at least thousands years old, right? And whatever original intention was for that particular religion passed down multiple generations. Right now, here, it's not the same as the original intention anymore.
Well, no, things get used improperly, and let's face it,
yes,
I hate to just pinpoint, but the Catholic Church has gone through many phases.
Yeah.
Initially basically, religion is used to control people and to train their minds. I mean, a child goes to Sunday school and he learns to develop an over sense of conscience, so everything he does is wrong. And, it takes a long time to unlearn so many of these things because as a child, you don't know anything and you're soaking all this up, you're going to hell. And I come from a Southern Baptist background. Now, you talk about guilt, people talk about Jewish guilt, Catholic guilt, but Baptist guilt, those two things have nothing on it. And my mother was great at using all that.
Okay.
Yeah. And you as a child, you only know this, but as you grow up and you become a teenager, and things begin to change for you, and the world doesn't look quite so cuddly and nice, and so you're trying to find your way. All your friends smoke, or they're having sex, and you're you're forced to go to church, and they're saying all that stuff's bad, and you're going, "Ooh, but I want to try,"
Yeah.
And We do, and then you have that guilt of having stepped outside the line, and now you're going to hell because you played with yourself one too many times, Is and the sad part is you think that's spirituality. You think that's God. You think that that's,
Right.
meaning. And for some people it does, and some people will live their life like that. To me, it was far too constraining. It just, you have all these things that God gave you, but you're not supposed to use them. It's like, I,
Yeah, it's very. I call that it's a part of the programming, right?
well, it is. It
Yeah,
is. It's
and yeah, and then when you mention about children, child or babies, because we are all the same when we come to this world. We don't know anything, and we were curious. We were wonder, want to learn everything, and we're not afraid to keep trying and trying. But when it comes to become adults, then we are fear of what people are gonna think us, people are gonna say about us,
and I
and
think,
yeah, I'm guilty of that too. Not just I
but
don't want
not to knock religion, but I think religion and education both do the same thing. They're
right.
trying to make us into good little soldiers who will obey all the rules, fall in line,
Yes.
go to college, get a 4-year degree so you can show somebody you went to school and got good grades, and now they'll hire you because you're trustworthy. It's a system that
Yes.
that is designed to make us good little soldiers. It's not designed to to allow somebody to be creative.
Yeah.
In fact, what it
Oh,
does, in my opinion, it dulls the creative senses that we have.
yes. We it dims our lights. I call it.
Well, it does. It does dim our light. It
Yeah.
puts us in a place where, we're obeying. We're obeying all the time because God's always watching, and
yeah.
you're going to be in trouble, and you thought in bad thoughts. It's like, what the hell does that have to do with spirituality?
It's a way of controlling. They don't want you to be too. They
Oh,
don't want the public to be too aware. You know what I mean?
They want to create good little soldiers, because if you think for yourself, you're not going to fall into the status quo. You're not going to fall in line. And when somebody tells you to think a certain way, you're not going to do that. I mean, that was my problem all along. I could not follow the rules.
Same here.
I couldn't. And when I did, I hated myself,
Yeah.
because I know the rules were set. Even as a child, I knew the rules were set up for somebody else. It wasn't that I was so special. It's just
Yes.
that I couldn't operate in the framework that they had made.
Yeah.
I was different than that. My mother hated me because I couldn't fit or wouldn't fit into that framework. She couldn't understand what was wrong with me because I was a free thinker. I was an artist. I was a musician. I was an intellectual. People used to come to my house and they'd say, "Are you adopted?"
Yeah. Well, because what you just say, you say your mom think, "What's wrong with you?" But actually, there's nothing wrong with
No, there's something wrong with you.
yes, because but now we think look back, we're actually blessing to think different, right? So I want to ask you like when do you kind of start your journey on on this path, and how did it came about? Like
Well, I've always felt spiritual, not
mm,
religious. I have always felt that there was something more than all of this.
right.
And I've always been fascinated by the night sky. So my first venture into anything like that was astronomy, and I didn't know much about astronomy. I
Okay.
mean, I was blessed with a fairly high IQ,
Right.
and my parents God rest their souls. They just weren't there, and they didn't know how to help me. They misunderstood because I was. I mean, at 5 years old, I'm listening to classical music. I'm into astronomy. I'm into all kinds of things that my parents didn't understand. They were
Mhm.
simpler folks, and so I knew that there was something different. And
Yeah.
classical music was my probably uh, my first introduction to something more. That and astronomy. Classical music became very mathematical to me. There's a
Yes.
lot of mathematics involved in it,
Yes.
whether there are or not. I see mathematics in the structure
Yes.
of it.
It
Uh,
is.
and in astronomy, the chaos of the universe, but there's so much order in all that chaos.
Mhm.
I read a book many years back, was called The Order of Chaos. It's a good
Uh-huh.
read. I forget who the author is, but it's a good read,
Okay.
and it makes a lot of sense. You know, uh, life in the universe, this particular plane, this dimension,
Yes, the
we all
dimension.
experience it pretty much the same. And the cosmos is just like us.
Mm.
Stars are born, they have a lifetime, they grow old, and then they burn out and they die. And when they die, they change. They explode, and their matter is thrown out into the universe. And then what's left becomes a black hole in some cases. It sucks everything in. So
Yeah.
that was my first sense that there was something more.
Yes. I think because my personal journey, like I said, I'm just starting. I do know sound. Like you mentioned about you listening to classic music, and the music and the sound has some mathematic coding in there. Like just look at I don't know if you play piano. I know you play guitar.
Used to play piano, yeah.
Yeah, there's a piano. There's a key. Like the do re mi fa something skip. I don't know. I'm not very familiar, but I do know there's a mathematical in there. Guitar has the frequency and the vibration, right? And
Right.
that generates some sort of energy for the universe. Yeah.
Yeah, vibration. I mean, vibrations in the universe are a common theme. We all vibrate to our own
Frequency.
ourselves, but we do it in conjunction to the universe. We're all vibrating at a different frequency,
Frequency.
but yet we all fit in. You know, but the one thing that vibrates at the most consistent frequency is the absolute, who people call God. I call the absolute.
Okay.
And I learned that my journey is
Hmm.
to match my vibration with the vibration of the absolute, because we're not foreigners. I mean, we wouldn't that wouldn't be happening for us if we weren't on that journey to find that. A lot of Hinduism and Buddhism talk about karma and having to go through many life cycles to outlive the karma. I don't quite see that. I see that more in uh, realizing, first of all, who we really are.
Hmm.
You know, uh,
Yes.
uh, we aren't just this flesh and blood. There's something more to us, and I think that's why we're here, is to make that realization. But that in the realization, we're connected to the
Yeah.
absolute.
Right. I think a lot of especially modern life, everybody can think beyond this physical form, 3D world, right? So, so when you said that we're not just flesh and blood and we are more than that, that's very, very true. But a lot of people, especially those so-called educated people, are very, very hard to accept this concept, or this reality. I don't call it concept or theory. I know it's part of our reality. We just haven't find out more or more broader everyone know, but I do also heard that more and more people are starting to awakening. of
Well,
this?
there's been many awakenings through life.
Right, right.
Through
Yes.
civilization. There's, in America, there was the Great Awakening, which was a religious thing right after the turn of the century. But along with that, along with the religion, came a great interest in the occult, which that's what Western religion calls Eastern religion is occult. And occult simply means hidden. So all religions practice occult,
Cool. Mm.
uh, because God is hidden, I suppose.
Yeah.
But the Eastern philosophies appealed more to me because they were more cosmic bound. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
It wasn't the Jesus thing. And I
Right.
if you believe in that, that's fine. I don't,
Yes.
whatever gets you through the night. But for me, I found something different. I walked through a doorway one day.
Yes. Tell us.
And after I went through that doorway, I could never go back. There was no going back. When you know.
Yes, exactly.
It's helpful.
I totally get it. But I want to ask you this because I personally, like I say, my journey is just beginning. I personally do understand what that third eye is now.
Yes.
And then when you say you walk through that door, you know, is that kind of related to?
Well, it is totally related. When the third eye opens, and that is something that, see, you have to be aware. You have to know that there is one. You have to know that that's what you're looking for. But I knew I was looking for something. And so because it came to me, the universe rewarded my inquisitiveness. It was just, and I read a lot. I read a lot of authors who had been down that path before me. Probably the greatest influence in my life was Carlos Castaneda, who wrote about his books, The Teachings of Don Juan, and it's a Yaqui way of knowledge. So this is a shaman teaching.
Okay.
Carlos
Yes.
Castaneda. This was his thesis. This is what he wrote for. There are 4 books, and they're his thesis for his masters.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about what a Yaqui, which is an Indian American, a Native American Indian, shaman taught him about spiritualism, and by using psychedelics.
Okay.
And I'm not afraid to say
yeah.
Mushrooms have opened doors for me that are unbelievable. I mean, it's incredible. We talked about that,
right? Yes.
And people want to say, well, it's not real, and it's like, well, okay, convince me what I experienced wasn't real. It's not real for you, but it certainly was for me.
Yeah, experience.
I know what I experienced. I know what was there. It was, and I was able to recreate a lot of that through meditation.
Yes.
So having the same experiences without any kind of enhancement.
Yes.
And so I know that what I found was what for me is real.
Yes.
And that's what I've always looked to.
Yes. I agree with you because, again, especially in our today's society, when we express our or share our experience, people will tend to say, that's not true. But how would they know, right?
Well, how can they argue my experience?
Right, I know.
There's simply people like that are close-minded, in my opinion, and they're merely trying to put onto you their limitation of experience.
Yes.
And that's okay. That's fine. Let them do that because I know what's real for me. I know, it's like, I mean, I've done many things in my life.
Right. And then you also mentioned is certain people has this is considered a gift, correct?
Yes, it is. Yeah. It's called, well, and it is called a gift, but the gift is not, let me see if I can word this right.
Okay, I think I know where you're going, but
Well,
okay.
the gift is more, it's more complex than just meditating. And the universe wants to give us all a gift.
Mm,
And the
okay.
gift is the realization of who we are in conjunction to the great I am.
Yes.
I have to find out who I am, not
I am.
the false ego, not the one that wants to drive the brand new car, that wants to have a lot of money or have that's a false ego.
Yes.
I'm trying to make something, appear real that is fake.
Uh-huh.
But the real I am is who I am connected to the great I am.
Yes.
And to get my soul or my spark, whatever you want to call it, that thing that gives me life and who makes me who I really am.
Yeah. I wanna let the audience knows when we are talking about the gift, we're not talking about like people with natural talent born that way. We're talking about can go through a practice or some sort of experience, right?
Well,
And then,
exactly.
yeah.
And a lot of times, like I've had a lot of experiences with talking to people about spirituality. You can tell who really is interested in it and who isn't, and who wants a fast track and
or who's afraid of this topic.
Well, and who won't shut up long enough to listen? I've been around people and it's like, hey, there's a gift here. If you just be quiet.
Hey, no, they're gonna say something else to stop you.
But you can't. As somebody who, to me, a lot of people talk like that because they're in fear.
I know. Insecure.
And especially when you get into a situation like that, because it can be very scary. And it's not really scary. It's just unknown. So many people, and myself included when I was very young, is, you're afraid of the unknown.
Yes, exactly. And actually, unknown is the part that we can improve and grow and find our higher self.
To me, I always found my higher self by taking chances.
Yes.
Exactly. I used to do a lot of things that a lot of people would consider crazy. I mean, I've surfed 40-foot waves, I've climbed mountains, I've climbed frozen waterfalls, and I am never more alive than when I'm close to death. Nothing will make you, and I'm not saying that I'm an adrenaline junkie, because that's just not who I am. But I was afraid of heights. So how did I get over it?
Me too.
I learned to climb mountains.
Wow.
I was afraid of big waves. So how did I do it? I surfed them.
Overcome.
And what would happen is I'd find out, I can do this and not die.
Yeah.
But I can certainly push the envelope.
Yes.
Get as close to it as possible.
Yes.
I mean, I'm almost.
I love it.
I've had great white sharks, pop up very close to me. I've had a lot of wonderful experiences, especially in being in nature. Nature, you just never know what nature's going to hand you. And being in the ocean is even far, I want to say spookier, but it's just far more surprising, because I've had gray whales, surface 3 feet from me and blow. It's like, how many people get to do that? I've seen dolphins born right next to me. I mean, this is just, it's like, and if I hadn't done the things I did, I would never have gotten to experience a lot of this stuff.
So let's go back to that. You say you saw a doorway. Remember earlier?
Well, okay, I didn't see a doorway per se, but I stepped through a doorway on my first experience, or actually my second experience with psychedelics.
Okay.
I stepped through a doorway and I knew I was in a dimension that it was all mathematical. It was nothing but mathematics. I just saw, equations
Oh,
and shapes, and it was, it was like geometry
symbols.
and trigonometry and algebra all at once. And I thought to myself, wow, this is really, this is really cool, right?
Yeah. Okay.
In that,
Mm.
there was also knowledge, and it's an unspoken knowledge. It's a knowledge that's the gift that the universe wants to give to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
It's an unspoken knowledge. You can't.
Put words in it.
Yeah, language breaks down.
Right.
It's intuitive. It's you vibrating and with the universe.
Yes. Just like I mentioned this to a friend. If you tune into AM, you can listen to FM. So what you just described,
Exactly.
yeah. So what you just described is you tune into that frequency, so you're able to receive that knowledge, even
Yes.
though it's not in our 3D language, but you kind of download right into yourself as a knowledge.
I like to think it
Yeah.
comes to you as opposed to downloading. What it
Yeah.
does is it comes to you and it meets you. See, that's the thing that I find surprising, is that not more people, that more people aren't listening. See, a lot of people won't meditate because they don't experience complete bliss the first time they try it.
Mhm.
Meditation is an action thing that you do. You do something when you meditate. You do something. You're not sitting there letting nothing happen while the world is happening at you.
Mhm.
Most time people who meditate have a mantra so that it helps them focus, and they get to go where they want to go.
Yeah.
And sometimes just sitting silently, the universe can talk to you.
Yes.
The problem is we live in a society that's all based on goods and money.
Mm-hmm.
I was
Materials.
thinking today about this program.
Mhm.
I mean, I've done pretty well for myself over the years.
Yes.
Do you know when I was the happiest? I was the happiest when I owned a car that was 15 years old. I had one guitar, I had a stereo, and I was living in one room in somebody's house. I didn't
Okay.
I didn't owe anybody any money.
Yes. Okay.
Everything I owned, I owned. You
Okay.
know, Bob Dylan was right. When you got nothing to lose. And when you got nothing to lose, you
Mm-hmm.
don't hang on to things. I think, in trying to downsize things, it's just not only my experience, but people around me. When you're trying to get rid of stuff, it's hard. And they find it difficult to let go of stuff because we form these emotional
Mm-hmm.
attachments to things,
Right.
inanimate objects,
Right.
things that'll never do anything for us.
Yeah. It's just sitting there
It's,
collecting dust. Yeah.
but,
I'm like that. I'm guilty of that a lot.
but we all are,
Yeah.
because, and that is a society we live in. We don't, how often do you say, hey, be satisfied with what you got. Don't buy anything new today. If people came on the TV and said that, advertisers, uh, sales would drop all over. Well, what's wrong with being happy with what you have? I'll
Yeah.
tell you what's wrong. It's because you're not spending money.
You're not catching on to the trend.
Well, you're not. Yeah,
Something
you're
like
not on
that.
the treadmill to oblivion.
Yeah.
That's one thing in America that the financial trap does to us. And yes, you can be spiritual and have money, but I don't see a lot of that happening.
Okay.
You know, uh, poorer people tend to be more spiritual than rich people because they have nothing to lose, and so they're more able to connect to that thing that wants them to connect.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Right.
but we have all this clutter in our lives of stuff.
Yes.
And I speak, like I said, the happiest days of my life was when I was down to bare tax. And from that time on, I got successful, and I maintained my spiritual connection really well until I didn't.
Do you think those stuff is kind of like a blockage to?
No, I think what happened is I stopped doing the thing that made me the happiest, and so none of it can make you happy.
Yeah.
And so my idea is, well, get rid of everything again, be poor, and rather than I have this all or nothing kind of stupidity.
No. It makes sense. I think,
But
yeah,
I also know the difference,
yes.
and that allows me to, to say, okay, Sherilyn, you don't need to throw out the baby with the bathwater. Let's just do what you need to do instead of getting rid of things. Get back to what works. Where do you find that sense of comfort? Where do you find that sense of connectedness? That sense of peace, and it's in meditating.
Yeah, what you say, I agree. It's all inner work, but our society is teaching us, showing us, you have to get something from external to make us happy, then
Right.
happy, right? So it's opposite.
Well, it's always an inside job,
Yeah.
It's an inside job. Well, it is. It's an inside.
I know what you mean. Yes.
But we're always looking to fulfill some other need, because we believe that what we're told, oh, you need a new car, you need to do this, you need to do that. It's like,
yes.
no, I don't really.
Yeah, hot girlfriend.
So in my need, I ended up with 20 guitars. I had 50 surfboards.
Yes.
I had, countless cameras. I mean, stuff that, and what I had was stuff.
Yeah.
And that's right. I joined the capitalist parade, and I got lots of stuff, but I lost the inside job, and
right.
and our talking and see, I've been back on that road to recapture that spiritual sense of being, and realizing that they can take all this stuff, you can have it all,
right?
You can't hurt who I really am
inside.
Yes. Yeah, who I am. Yeah. And when I say I am, I mean it in conjunction with the great I am. I don't mean, Sherilyn Cassidy.
Sherilyn, I am all that. No.
Yeah, no. It's when I say I am, it's the great I am too.
Okay. And you also mentioned to me that after since we start out the conversation, that we have our loved ones pass, and I did really go into that rabbit hole myself to get more knowledge about after death. So, and then you mentioned to me that one time you experienced that,
right? After death,
like out of body experience.
Yeah, my third experience with mushrooms after the mathematics, I decided I'm going to go a little bit further.
Okay.
So I did, and what happened was I fell to the ground, and my soul left my body. I was on the ceiling looking down at myself, and I was amazed. And my friend was in the room, and
wow,
I was lying. My body was lifeless.
But your friend is still in her body, right? Or his body?
Yeah, it was a he. And he's staring at me like,
"Are you okay?"
Basically, are you okay?
Yeah.
And I'm up on the ceiling looking down, going, wow. That was my first realization of dimensionality.
Yes.
Although this friend of mine, he was a very intelligent guy too, and we used to play 4-dimensional chess.
Okay.
And you have to understand dimensions. So I knew there was at least 4 dimensions, and soon found out that it's so multi-dimensional. It's like, oh my God.
How many do you know?
I wouldn't even venture to guess.
Oh, it just keep creating and creating and creating constantly.
Well, see, that's the thing.
Okay.
We live in a universe that constantly is creating and recreating. So why wouldn't that happen?
Right, because if we put it in a scientific way, I think the particle atoms and just keep repeating, like our cells keep creating the new cell, right? Like
However,
that.
I wish we create some new stuff on me at 73 years old.
Hey, yes, you do.
I want new knees. I want new shoulders. I want
yes, you got a lot. Hey, you got a lot. You got a lot of new body part.
I don't have a lot of new body parts. I have a couple of new body parts.
Okay.
But I forgot where we were.
Oh, we were talking about your out of body.
No, okay, you're talking about atoms and things. That was one of the other experiences because I was able to go beyond atoms.
Wow.
And you sit in the presence of the building. I mean, it's like seeing the building blocks of the universe all around you. And you're seeing that there's matter, there's spirit, all kinds of stuff,
Spiritual.
But there's only one energy in the entire universe because everything came from that
source.
The source.
Yeah. The source.
So, and it all vibrates differently, but it's all everything's made out of the same material. I mean, there's one energy and it beats, and it vibrates completely. But
right.
And you have to hear it.
Listen.
Sense it. And you have to be able to figure out how your self, your own person vibrates in conjunction with the rest of the universe. So you no longer feel like, I know a lot of people that say, oh, I don't feel like I belong here. And, it's like, but we all do. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah, we sign up ourselves.
Well,
or karma, right?
Well, the problem is living in a material world. It's very difficult to imagine a non-material world, which is what we see people who pass into death. Do we really know what's on the other side? No, we hope, and that's what a lot of people use religion for, is the hope of a certain kind of life beyond this particular one.
Right.
We're talking about losing loved ones. I lost my brother on January 23rd, 2023. And we just saw, celebrated or honored his death here last week. But I was with him the night before he left.
Okay.
I say left because only the physical body died, but he was very lucid. We were having great dinner. He was there. He was present. But every now and then he would close his eyes. And he's talking to the people on the other side.
Yes, my mom has similar too.
Yeah, and I knew what was going on. Some of my family wasn't quite sure, but I'm sure what was going on.
I'm kind of a little bit opposite than you. We think because she has a brain radiation, so we thought was some sort of based on the doctor illusion. But now I connect back to that when she experienced like seeing something or hear something. Then now I know exactly what's going on, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's they're. I know he was talking to people on the other side. It was just so cool. That's not the first experience I've had about being someone who was dying. Now, my brother did not have radiation, so he didn't have anything affecting his brain.
Right.
But he was dying of cancer.
Mhm.
But I knew I just knew he was going to the other he's talking to the other side and they're beckoning him on because he was smiling.
Yeah. Well, based on what I saw the documentary of after death, people who kind of went on to that side and came back, like somehow it's not their time, they described it exactly the same thing. It was very happy, it's all love. There's no, like those material world. It's not, there's no physical world. It just, everybody is connected, everybody's
Yes.
love,
Yeah.
no judgment.
Everybody's
Right?
soul is connected. You're connected in
Yes.
this big way that everything is okay. There's
Yes.
nothing to worry
No
about.
judgment.
There's,
Yeah.
it was just like you said, just love and peace.
Yes. Yeah.
I suppose that's what we're all looking for. In the end, anyway, it's like, oh my God.
That's why I call this Earth is a school that we put it here, or we sign up to come here and then learn and then to overcome challenges and
whatever
all
it
that.
is we need to overcome, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, because we're all overcoming something,
Yes.
and
Right.
that's the other part about our spirituality is realizing,
Mhm.
that we have something to overcome. We may not even know what it is to overcome, that we need to overcome. But the message from the universe is come and overcome. And and you overcome by not doing something in a physical plane, but by having that sense of comfort in the spiritual plane. Two different places, and it's you can't live in both places, especially in our society.
Right.
Unless you want to be an ascetic and just live on a mountaintop and meditate all the time. But it doesn't, I know very few people who have ever done that. And most of them are in India or Nepal or, they're in someplace, but they're certainly not here in the United States.
No, like but the Chinese ancient stories, I don't know if it's true or just fantasies stories, but they all like to go into the cave and then learn, meditate, and come out with become a different person.
Right.
Even modern some scientists I heard, Einstein is some sort of that way. Nicholas Tesla, they shut themselves in one room and do all that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's it. It's like there are individuals who are gifted in ways that we'll never understand, and they do their thing. And, it's like, thank God we have them, because without those people who did wonderful things, we wouldn't be where we are. But I think one of the things that's bothering me is that people have glammed on so hard to technology that it's hard for them to truly understand spirituality. Because our society is, most of it is based on what we call mythos, the mythology of our culture.
Yeah.
And that's the way it's been forever. Tribes that have no book learning, they knew there was a God. They knew or a creator, if you will.
Yes.
They celebrated the seasons. They built things to welcome in the winter and summer solstices. These are long before science ever gave us this knowledge. There was a lot of knowledge just around. If you look at the Middle East, long before it became divided the way it is, there were the scholars, there were astronomers. I mean, there was so much knowledge that came from those people, in the Middle East. Look at the pyramids, the Egyptians that building things.
Right.
Now, did somebody come from a different dimension to teach them how to build these things? Because they're dealing with mathematical problems and situations and building
Yeah.
that we can't duplicate today.
They are. I think they already understand the frequency, vibration, energy, and sound. I think that the pyramid is built to create all those elements.
The pyramids in the Mayans and the Aztecs pyramids, they're all built on in the same scale. It's all and it's all true north and sun and moon. There's a lot of astronomy baked in.
Yes.
So these people have had this knowledge for a long time, and these cultures, a lot of them were avid users of psychedelics. So they had the doors opening to them, and they had that knowledge imparted to them, and they were able to bring it back and recreate things in this physical plane.
But Western culture is try to block us for knowing.
Well, Western culture is still driven by religion.
Okay.
And I'll say the United States in particular.
Okay.
Religion, though it's lost a lot of people who follow it, it's still basically runs our society. Most of our laws were based on some religious doctrine and dogma, whatever. And I think their heart was in the right place. It's just that they never changed any of this stuff to come to the modern times.
Right.
When I mentioned mythology, well, most societies live their mythology. We are still living the mythology of Percival and the Holy Grail.
Right.
That's how much things have not changed for us. Men and women have their roles, and the male's looking to mend the wound that he got when he was a child about his manhood. It's just that's what we're doing.
Right.
We've not progressed at all from the Percival and Holy Grail story. And one of the reasons I believe that is religion has stifled our ability to communicate spiritually. And fear of stepping outside that. Like I said, for me as a child, embroiled in all the religious stuff, it just created I had this sense of my conscience was working overtime all the time.
Wow.
And it's taken me a lifetime to live past that, and I still can't say I do. I want to say, I do what I want when I want, and for the most part that's true, but there's always that nagging thing in behind. It's like, shut up.
Your inner voice.
It was a voice created by based on a false premise.
Okay.
That's my sense, is that finding the spirituality gave me a lot of freedom, and it doesn't mean a lot of freedom to be a sex addict, or it gave me a lot of freedom in knowing that it's okay.
Yes.
And I think most people don't know this, but that's what they're looking for, is to be okay. Just to be okay and fit right where they are right now, because that's all you have. But most people are either living in the past or in the future. So you can't. The only thing that counts is right now.
Yes. Yeah.
Because, and even right now isn't right now, because the mind, it takes the brain 1/25th of a second to realize what it's seen. So we're always living in the past.
Yeah, that little slightly pass.
Yeah, 1/25th of a second. I mean,
Yeah.
and when you think of it, like we're never living in the now, but we try to.
Yes.
And that's what simplifies life, is living in the now.
The now. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for sharing so much information. I love this conversation. Yes.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
We will definitely have to have you come back and talk about more on this topic.
Well, it's a big subject, so we can go on for a long time.
Yes, we're gonna go on for a long time because we only touch a lot of, just the basis only. Like after that, we haven't talked about your other experience yet. So we will continue on this conversation next time. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.